Hi everybody, welcome back. Good morning. Thank you for watching. If you like the content in sports, don't be shy. Hit the subscribe button. Davante Adams sounds like he's gone. I believe he's actually gone this time. I think we're about to see the Davante Adams era in Las Vegas come to an end. Anybody who actually follows the Raiders knew this was coming. Am I wrong to say to think that Davante Adams is the biggest failed experiment? And I kind of would rather him just move on. It's kind of like dating someone. You see someone walk by and you rather be with that person. That's a problem. It's not a healthy marriage. And clearly Davante is ready to get out of this relationship. He's been done. I feel like Davante is being real careful, not trying to piss anybody off, but also voicing frustration that he is feeling. I can spot tension between him and the Raiders and insist he doesn't want to be there. And so you look at this and say at some point you knew he would want out because he went there to play with his college quarterback, Derek Carr, and felt betrayed by the Raiders. But if I'm Davante Adams, I'm picking the best situation for me to win a championship instead of trying to buddy with Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. And we know he's going to go to a place like the Saints or the Jets because he wants to play with those two guys, right? He wants to play with either one of those guys. And we know this about him, that he has a wish list of places to land. I mean, there are certain quarterbacks he's comfortable with, and there are certain things he likes, and there are things he doesn't like. Davante is notorious for not wanting to play with particular quarterbacks if their names aren't Aaron or Derek. No offense to you, but he most likely don't want you throwing the ball to him. And when the star receiver is visibly unhappy and upset and not happy, that just means the team should look to part ways with him. What good is having him on the team? If a player is unhappy, his unhappy state starts to affect his playing and production and even the rest of the team. Keeping a disgruntled player, it's a bad influence in the locker room. It's hard to keep a guy around that feels he's not wanted or kind of get this idea of what's going on within an organization that employs a coach who likes an Instagram post suggesting that Davante may have played his last down with Vegas. And so, I mean, this is on Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. First of all, they traded away a decent quarterback, Davante's buddy, by the way, with no hope of getting a better quarterback anytime soon. Secondly, the situation with the star wide receiver is getting awkward in Vegas. Davante Adams says he hasn't heard from Antonio Pierce. So there's been no communication from anybody on the team. If we look at this, we go back to one of the reasons he wants to leave Vegas. Was he really didn't want to play on a team with a quarterback he doesn't know. Probably a lot for what I just said of like there's no communication. He doesn't have his quarterback like they had promised. Derek Carr is gone. Now let me go to the Jets or the Saints and play with my buddies. The Jets have Aaron Rodgers, my former teammate with the Green Bay Packers. The New Orleans Saints have Derek Carr, my former teammate at Fresno State and with the Raiders, which is what led him to Vegas because Derek Carr was the quarterback there at one time. But man, the damage has been done with reports emerging Tuesday of Adams telling the Raiders he prefers to be traded rather than stand with the team. And because of that, a messy situation got even messier. Look, if the lasting impact of Antonio Pierce's like of a Sports Illustrated post mentioning the likelihood of the team shopping Adams creates a toxic dynamic where resentment festers and trust erodes, well, then that means it's just time for both parties to move on. It's not so much Davante, it's Antonio Pierce as well. And anytime you refer to Davante Adams, as just his jersey number, that means it's not good. To me, that's a big deal. This isn't a healthy situation. I personally think the damage is done between Davante and the Raiders. Congratulations to the Raiders for doing this to your franchise after you got rid of Derek Carr, pissed off Adams, and now he wants to leave. Now he wants out. The situation in Vegas has turned sour. Antonio Pierce was asked if he has spoken to Davante Adams. Pierce says they talk often. When followed up about the current status of the relationship, he said that's between he and Davante. Then he went on to say Adams is still dealing with a hamstring injury and is rehabbing. Exactly how you would expect him to answer that question, right? There is no way Adams is going to be a Raider by next week. I'm calling it right now. This tells me everything I need to know. It is a toxic, broken relationship. Just move on. The writing has been on the wall. If your head coach is liking a social media post about a potential trade that involves you, to me, that's the epitome of dysfunction. Antonio Pierce got to be better than this. Both parties would be so much better if they just break up. Just end this relationship right now. The Raiders would be making a mistake trying to convince Davante Adams to stay in hopes he can salvage his relationship. Davante asking to be traded after a couple of years is a bad look. If you really want to know who to blame, look no further than the previous regime. Josh McDaniels, the guy who should have never been hired in the first place, was largely responsible for the chaos. You know, the bottom line is McDaniels couldn't manage the team. He wasn't the coaching type. Obviously didn't want Derek Carr for his quarterback. It's a cultural issue more than anything, no matter who steps in to coach this team. And so when the Raiders got rid of Derek Carr, which I thought was a bad move, Davante wasn't happy about that at all. And on top of that, the rest of Raiders Nation gleefully scapegoated the franchise's all-time leading passer without giving him a defense ranking higher than 20th even once. But it wasn't all his fault. It wasn't all on Derek Carr. It was never what McDaniels did terribly to put his team in an awful position in which the Raiders were unsuccessful. This is all coaching and ownership. McDaniels in reality is the guy that has set this franchise back like 10 years, and he was only a coach for a year and a half. I don't think anybody expected the Raiders to be a top contender this year, if you follow the team. Antonio Pierce takes over, has the interim tag removed, and inherited a mess. This was always going to take time. It was always going to be a slow process. But now you look at the whole Davante Adams drama. If that's not an indictment on this whole organization, then what is? The Raiders are a mess. They are a mess from the top down. The franchise has turned into a complete joke. Horribly run organization. It's bad. It's egregious. Mark Davis may be worse than his late father. He's a disastrous owner of a team living off its loyals for 40 years. That's 4 decades and counting. And I think for Davante, man, he just wants to play with Derek. He just wants to play with his buddy, man. And I can see him going to the Saints. And I doubt Davante and Antonio can work this out. I'm not going to act like Davante has been going about this the right way. But what Antonio Pierce did, to me, is unprofessional and very immature. I think we all know the kind of player Davante is. He's still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's just not on the right team. And now that he's currently on the trade block, it looks like he's going to be on the move. The Jets seem like the likely landing spot. He's going to be a Jet, reuniting Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers on the Jets might be inevitable. So, obviously, the Jets are a team to keep an eye on. They're the betting favorites. They're the front runners to land him. Last year, you might remember the Jets tried to trade for Davante before the trade deadline. So they've always had an eye on him. And I would be very surprised if he's not a Jet by next week or if not sooner. I'm telling people, by next week, he's going to be teammates with Aaron Rodgers again. All roads lead to the Jets for Davante Adams. And I think deep down inside, that's where he really wants to be. That's one of his preferable destinations. And the Jets are desperate for a playoff season with an old quarterback. Your quarterback is over 40. Your coach could be gone if they don't win. The Jets have to be all in on Davante without question. And if I'm the Jets, I have to get him. You have Rodgers to win right now. Your offense not being good at all, it's a move you have to make. Go all in. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love, the support. It's so genuine. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to check out the content, to listen to what I got to say. I really, really appreciate it wholeheartedly. Without you guys, none of this is possible. But we'll talk very soon. I got to get out of here. I got to get on with the rest of my day. And I'll be back with some baseball content. I want to get some baseball content out there for you guys. I want to talk about the Kansas City Royals. What a surprise they are early in October. And then I want to talk about the Dodgers, because the Dodgers have a date with the San Diego Padres. Game 1 is Saturday. I want to talk about that as well. But I'll get around to doing it. Till next time, you guys take care, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great Thursday.